Stream today. It's your boy Jared T. We're here with Leo Pastel. We got a lot to talk about today. Leo's out here making waves, but first and foremost, how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good, feeling great. It's definitely finally getting some space to not be overthinking this drop and just happy to kind of step back and see what happens. Feels like kind of a lot of the brunt work is done, so now it's just coordination, meetings, sending it out, stuff like that.
Yeah, the back end grind of it. Well, it's off to a really great start. I got it pulled up here in front of me. It looks like you got 23 mints already, and you still have 2 days left. So that's a really good start.
So I didn't even know it
Congrats.
was 23. I guess somebody else just meant it because it was not 23 last time I checked. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's
it looks like
definitely going well.
Yeah, looks like we got man. It's just rolling in here. Matt Chain picked up 22.
Let's
Yeah, man,
go.
you out here doing things. So speaking of right, in your copy for the song, it actually talks about, or you actually speak about how this was originally from Chaos, but it
Yeah.
wasn't one of the ones that was chosen for that pack. But talk about what went into that creation process, because like everybody talks about like what how crazy that whole thing was, and then how this came to be.
Yeah. So if anyone's not familiar, Headless Chaos is a headless band of 77 artists, musicians, developers. We came together through Song Camp. We released a generative NFT project last June. I think we sold around 2,000 NFTs, generated a bunch of revenue. Yeah, we're able to split it between all contributors on the project. We had coverage by some bigger publications like Billboard magazine, New York Times, things like that. Um, so the breakdown of the way the camp worked, they broke us up into groups of three artists. There was a producer, a songwriter, and a flex, which was pretty much somebody who could do both. I was songwriter, one of 15 songwriters in the camp. Um, and pretty much over a 6 week span, they put us in a group of three people and said, "You have 2 weeks to come up with a song. After that 2 weeks, they would shuffle you. 2 weeks to come up with another song. After that, shuffle you. 2 more weeks to come up with a song." And then there was 2 weeks at the end of everything for the visual artists to really dig in and generate, their layers. Um, so this was supposed not supposed to be, but it was a first as a part of phase two, which was a band I was in with Dillip and Glass Tempo, who's the producer of this track. Um, so Glass Tempo sent a couple beats in the group chat, and I really liked this one. I can't remember what the original name of it was. I wrote kind of the hook. Try to find oxytocin highs. I wrote that part on the Glass Tempo's beat. And then Dillip, it was crazy because they were both two really good beats. The You can actually hear the other beat was it's called Late Bloomer. It's actually in the Chaos collection that I'm featured on. But they were both really good samples, and Dillip was feeling the what was it? Late Bloomer. I keep trying to call it Strawberry because that's what the working demo was. But Late Bloomer was the one Dillip was feeling. I think it was the right decision. It's like a little bit more like accessible, like pop-ish type song. So Oxytocin ended up getting shelved. But there's a group in Chaos called the Alchemists, which listen to all the different demos that people in different groups working on. Connor Dalton, Violetta, Dead Walker, and I always forget Fran Miller. Um, they were all the alchemists who heard the Oxytocin demo and they really liked what we did. So they made a little remix version of
Mm.
Oxytocin, which actually is really my favorite song in the whole KS collection. So that you can actually hear the Oxytocin remix as a rare track in the Chaos collection. So yeah, but from that, after everything, Glass Temple and I came back together and decided to flesh out the original Oxytocin demo we had, add some verses to it, add an outro, add an intro, and make it a full song. So that's kind of the process behind how it got here.
I mean, that's really cool, man. Like, especially for it to come on this whole story. So, like, I got a ton of questions around that. First and foremost, like, when you say you stripped it back to its essence, like, I kind of love. I don't necessarily want to call the production simple, but I love like the simplicity of it, that it carries in tune with the vocals, right? And then like we can hear the lyrics, and like it's simple yet it just delivers. What went behind the decision to kind of strip it down and make it kind of not like super intricate as far as like the production is concerned?
Yeah, this whole process was super collaborative, so I have to credit Glass Tempo on those production choices. But just based on like what we've talked about, he said once I laid my vocals on that original sample, he just felt like he had the idea of adding some drums, adding some different elements, but he just when he tried it out, he was like, it just works the best as just that bass, that piano, and then my vocals. He said he didn't, his words, he didn't want to mess up the magic that was already there. So we took a very simplistic and intentional approach on the production of this.
Well, I
Sorry, I'm
think
trying.
that's super important, actually. No, you're good, bro. I think that's super important, like knowing when to add or when not to add. I think it's super easy to add more shit in there, and it's actually harder to leave things out. So, kudos to Glass Tempo on that one. What I wanted to ask you about with the actual song itself, Oxytocin, and obviously, like you were part of Chaos as a songwriter. I'm always kind of curious, like, do you recall like where your head was at the time that you were writing this song? Like, do you remember what was actually like occurring?
Yeah. This was a really visceral track. Um, to like kind of simplify the idea, oxytocin is like the love hormone. That's what a lot of people call it, but it's really just to try to find oxytocin highs. I think it's like a human experience of humans trying to like fill the void within us with things, like trying and I think if you hear like drug addicts talk about kind of their experience, they always say the first time was like the highest high they ever get, and they spend the whole rest of life or their addiction trying to find that like that high, trying to hit that same high that they had with their first hit. And I think anyone can relate to that. In any human experience, you can be addicted to anything. So it's a song about like addiction and being stuck in cycles and trying to find that like that hormone high and relating like those hormones to like a drug high. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'm going to read this sentence, this the first sentence that you put on here, just so everybody knows what I'm talking about. But Leo wrote, "This song reflects the intrinsic nature of humanity existing in cyclical patterns, constantly yearning for the transcendent states of mental elation." What I'm curious about in that by itself, and I think we all have this kind of self awareness, varying degrees of self awareness. But when we talk about, or when you mention cyclical patterns, what have you noticed? And I'm going to relate this to Web3, being in the Web3 space as present as you are, what kind of patterns have you noticed that you would maybe like to change or break out of as it relates to what you've
Oh,
written here?
there's so many. Um, for one, I would just say this like addiction to like social currency and like being up all night trying not to miss a single thing. Um, you know, I don't know, just like this addiction to like the internet and just like social media. And I think that many in Web3 can relate to that. Um, that oxytocin comes with any type of human connection. Like if you hug a person, like when you talk to someone that you love, like so I think it's a broad topic to talk about. But I would just, and honestly, that's like a decision I'm realizing with this drop. I'm like, once this is out, I'm taking a little step back because it took a lot to get this out, and not just like the work of building this track, but the work of building my community and like of supporters. And so that's why I'm actually doing an experiment with this. That when it's out, I'm gonna like take a step back from just talking to everyone. And I actually like made a little social experiment with it where I'm gonna open a token gated group chat with everyone who cops the NFT, and that's just gonna be the only place I'm communicating for a period of time. I haven't really decided how long it's gonna be, but I'm just really taking time away from all social medias, all texts, everything like that, and tuning out everyone except the people who are like really in my corner, the people who really are here for me and to help me out. So yeah, that's kind of been a direct impact of this song, I'd say.
Dude, I love that. I mean, that's really cool, and I think it's needed. I mean, as silly as it sounds, like sometimes even just taking a day away can do things for you. Anybody that's been present in the Web3 space can attest to that, and probably even outside, right? Like, we kind of overdo things from a work standpoint and everything like that. Now, I'm curious though, can we get you to like really like I want to hear about you being on a beach somewhere. Like, what you got some travel plans on deck? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Like you talking about for the conferences or what you mean?
No. I mean, when you step away, like,
Oh, I wish. No, I'm really just locking in. Like, girl Crash has been a big inspo of mine. Funny enough, I onboarded her and she ended up like being a huge inspiration for so many of my steps in Web3. But just the way she kind of like stepped all the way back from Web3 after doing like daily spaces for a short span, and she's been having her head down working on a generative project, like a bigger project, and just watching people still being here for her, still showing up for her, people taking over the spaces she was hosting. Like, it's just showing me that like if you really are adding value, you can leave, take time to yourself, and come back, and it'll still be there. So I'm taking when I step away, I'm gonna be working. Like, it's stepping away from what I see is like, I don't know, like it can be beneficial at times, but sometimes it can be frivolous. Just like, being in all these different group chats, all these Twitter spaces, all these, like it's hard to sift through like the noise to like what's actually beneficial. So I'm just taking some time to step back from that and focus on the work, focus on creating, focus on building out like these next steps. And really, I honestly don't fully know what I'm going to be doing. That's kind of like I'm letting my collectors be my advisory board, and I'm coming in with a inquisitive mind, and I'm just asking them what does Web3 need, where can I provide value, and that'll define what steps I take.
Love to hear that. Shout out, girl. I know you guys did some NFT NYC. I know there's the Outsiders Collective. NFT NYC, like I actually got to see y'all play that down in Miami. That was really cool. What's that whole thing like? Is like I know you guys came together, you made that, but like then you like started like doing live sets with it. What was that experience like?
It was cool. So Girl, a lot of people don't know, me and Girl are friends, like older friends, maybe 5 or 6 years. Both from Cincinnati, Ohio. So yeah, I've definitely played shows with Girl on the same bill before, but I think our first collaboration was NFT NYC, which was funny enough because I know her for so long. But yeah, it was really cool. I think because of the stock, like the friendship we already had together, it makes performing with her like really flow really easily. Um, I find that with most creative relationships, that if I like the person as a friend, if we already mesh, that collaboration in any form just comes a lot easier. And I've had people tell us like we look like brother and sister, like me, we have such synergy on stage, like, and it's because I don't get that compliment like when I perform with others. So it's cool that it comes across to some people.
That is cool. That is cool. And I want to take a moment here, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows. So Leo's drop is live right now. Please go to sound.xyz. If in the search you type in Leo Pastel, you can hear the song. It's R&B on the blockchain. It is 0.03. We got 2 days left to cop an edition in primary sale. If you miss it for whatever reason, getting funds up, that sort of thing, you can always pick one up on secondary, I'm sure. Go listen to it. Let us know how you're feeling about it. What I want to know is, so I see the emphasis from you talking about R&B on the blockchain. I will say that as an R&B fan myself, there's not a lot, there's not a wide range of R&B in Web3 at all. One of the first people I saw kind of come on and do this, and he kind of varies across different genres, is McClenny. I don't know if you've ever linked with him. Really dope artist. Check him out. But what I want to know is, who do you listen to first and foremost on the Web3 side that you like R&B, and then the traditional side, and then I've got a follow up for that.
Absolutely. So I'm actually trying to pull up a tweet because I just made a tweet tagging a bunch of my favorite R&B people. I got to reference TK right off the bat. Definitely made a lot of noise. Was it this year or last year with Eternal Garden? Sold 700 music NFTs.
Right in Miami, yeah.
Okay, so that was last year. R&B, Web3. Jazzy, have to give a huge shout out to Jazzy. She originally was working with Mint Songs, and now is doing her thing as a solo artist. Amazing vocalist, amazing songwriter. Um, Miles Ryan Harris, he's another super dope musician. Talea Music, she's an undiscovered gem. Talea, she's from the Pacific Northwest. She actually is a career and engineer. Like worked with some of the big people. Works in a really dope studio called Ruby Room, which is in Seattle, I think. She actually mixed my song Weekend, which was on the Eclectic mixtape. But her as a vocalist, as an R&B artist, she's freaking amazing. Iman Europe, I mean everybody knows Iman.
Yeah.
She's a hitter. Scala. I'm gonna just read the rest of this list. Scala, Isidore. Oh my god, I love Izzy. Zand. He does like kind of like synth pop inspired music. A lot of people compare him to The Weeknd. Yeah, I think that's the whole Rim Cycles. Oh my god, crazy bass player and producer. But yeah, that's the whole list that I put on Twitter. So sorry if I didn't hit anybody, but yeah.
It's all good. What about on the Web 2 side? Like, who are some of your favorites on that side?
Yeah, Frank Ocean is definitely a big inspiration of mine, and for this song specifically, I definitely in the mix I was referencing a lot of Frank tracks. Um, I really love Beyonce. I think when you get to a certain level popularity wise, there's automatically going to be some like controversial opinions of you, but I think just at a talent level, at a skill level, Beyonce is so gifted as a vocalist and as a performer, and yeah, just the way she builds her songs. Her voice is the centerpiece, and she uses her vocals as instruments. She just released um, an acapella version of Puppet, and it's insane to listen to how much she's building out the song just vocally. Like
Mm.
some of the elements you'll hear, it's like when I was listening to the song, I thought those were like horns, but it's like just her vocals, stacked. So it's changed the way I see music, and just growing up listening to her, she's like, she's an awesome talent. Who else do I love? Hiatus Coyote, they're a really crazy fusion, like jazz fusion band from Australia. They're freaking amazing, incredible. Lauren Hill, she's a huge inspo of mine. Stevie Wonder, um, a lot of gospel music. Kim Burrell, Kurt Franklin, Fred Hammond, stuff like that. That's my roots.
That's funny that you mentioned gospel. So my wife's a big gospel fan, and so like I by default know a lot of gospel just because it's always playing in my
Wow,
house.
super cool. So
Uh,
I actually I come from a gospel background. My sister's in a pretty well established gospel band called Cross Worship. My dad, he was a gospel singer back in the day. So I actually had experience with Sunday Service Choir, Kanye West, and them. So definitely very immersed in the world of gospel music.
that's pretty cool. Um, this next question. So I tend to ask this to everybody, and this is kind of a fun question here. Um, I find that most people, when you're growing up, like obviously, like your musical taste is influenced by the people that you're close to, and usually you can point to one album or at least one song that either a sibling or a parent or a cousin or somebody played all the time that you know front to back from your childhood. Curious what that would be for you.
It's gonna be so funny. The first album I ever bought, and it's just the one that always comes to mind. There's probably, but Riot by Paramore. Like when I got my little iTunes card for Christmas, and that was the first like album that I bought with my own money. And I remember listening to all the previews, and I was like up how much it would cost to buy the songs individually or buy the album, and I was like, it was so like I don't know, that's such a vivid memory for me using my iTunes card to buy Riot by Paramore. So yeah, that's what I'll
That's
say.
cool. That's cool. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of times those answers that I'm getting from other people are like they could be completely different than what you're working with today, type of thing. So, uh, just in case you were wondering, mine is Mariah Carey from when I was a kid. My mom used to bump the hell out of some Mariah Carey, so it's the worst. I still
Legend.
know all of it.
Okay, let me also throw definitely Mariah. We had the Mariah Christmas album on year round. We had a little CD player, and my little brother, my younger brother was like the track genius. So whenever we'd be like, which number is that? He'd be like, oh, that's track 7. And so that's like a vivid memory. And then also, my dad had this compilation Sam Cooke album, and he had a compilation Stevie Wonder album. Everywhere we went, that's all we listened to. So honestly, I hated Sam Cooke and Stevie Wonder for like a large portion of my life because it was like I just heard those songs trillions of times. But I rediscovered that old like Motown music like in my college years, and I was like, wow, this is really profound, like beautiful music. So yeah, that's definitely another one I would reference.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's funny that you mentioned navigating CDs like by track number. I remember doing that. I'm like, oh, throw in number 4. You know, like we didn't know song names back then. You just knew them by the number.
Yep.
Um, so I'm curious, being on the Web3 side, and obviously, you know, you talked about how present you are and whatnot. What's Rug Radio been like for you? Like, how would you describe that experience? Because obviously, like from a time perspective, there's a lot there, but I assume that overall, like that's been like pretty additive to like everything that you're doing, right?
Yeah. The Rug Radio was such an easy integration. So we were already doing an open mic night under the Outsider Collective. Me, Girl, and Werb were hosting that every Wednesday night, and we applied to Rug Radio just kind of to see what would happen. Originally, my idea was to do a different show, um, but once I was onboarded, it was just like it made the most sense to just the platform I already had, to just integrate that with Rug Radio, not kill myself having more than one show a week. So we just transitioned, I think, right before Basel. So it's been like 9 or 10 weeks at this point with Rug Radio. I gotta do the math on that. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's really it's a cool process. You really just we drop a Google form every week, and we allow submissions from everyone in the Web3 space. And then we were Twitter Space, Rug Radio, Web3 Open Mic. In the first hour, we spend kind of discussing different topics surrounding Web3 and music. The second hour, we spend just listening to all the submissions and giving people feedback if they want it, or just providing encouragement and love if that's all they're asking for. So yeah.
No, that's cool, and all that stuff is like super like needed. Like that, everybody needs that stuff in the spot because everybody comes in different spots, and I don't know. So kudos to you, man. I appreciate the work you're putting in there. Um, I know that you said you don't necessarily know what's coming next. Are you working on maybe like a larger work, any kind of album, EP, anything of that nature, like for this year?
Yeah. So I had set a goal this year to drop one song every month. So that's definitely what I'm doing. I don't know if an NFT is going to come out of each one, but definitely trying to do a Spotify release. I'm a little behind because we didn't get Oxytocin out till February, but Sound hit us up and wanted to do it February 15th. So it was just like, let's just push the whole schedule back 1 month. And then I'm also trying to build out a platform. I don't want everything I build to be centered around me. I am really like a behind the scenes type of person. I think a few years ago I just realized it was the easiest path to success was kind of being the brand, being the face of what you're trying to put out there, and then using that leverage to like get you into rooms, be able to do my goal is to like work in artist development, work in songwriting, um, just provide a platform for other artists to really shine. So that's definitely my eventual goal. And I'm using all of the funds and all of the steps that I'm taking right now to kind of feed into that eventual goal. So yeah. And as far as projects, I'm working on a really uh, ambitious NFT project, some generative stuff with a good friend of mine. So I'm really excited for that to come out later in the year.
I love that, man. That's really cool to know that you got going on that. There's a couple things that you said in there that I actually really admire. When you say that an NFT won't necessarily come out of everything, I actually really like that. I don't. I am kind of a big advocate that not everything needs to be an NFT. You know, this can complement Web 2 and vice versa type thing. So I like hearing that some things will be exclusive to the other sides, and there's all sorts of ways that you can end up playing that later on down the road because of the exclusivity to one side or the other. So hats off to you for that. Speaking of artist development and just kind of like working with other people, do you have any collabs on deck or anything that you can share?
Oh yeah. I've been getting hit up left and right. I guess people have been seeing the drops or whatever, but definitely have some really exciting Web3 collabs on the horizon. Probably not that I can share yet. I could, some things I can share. So this is already released. I'm in a band called Morphatones, which is a virtual band in the MV3. If you want to learn anything about MV3, it's a NFT project made by Metaverse, which is a big Web3 media company. But where me, girl, and our friend Tony are like the leads of this virtual band. It's kind of like I call it cyberpunk. That's like the genre we're going for. So I'm really excited about future stuff with them. I'm also in a band in the Web2 industry called Hard Car Kids. It's like we call it a super group. It's a band of like 6 different guys, and we're all like solo artists, and we just came together, kind of on some. A lot of people compare us to Brockhampton, just because that that's the boy band that's in modern history. Um, but yeah, we're doing really well. One of our songs actually just passed 2 million streams on Spotify, and we're
Hey,
thank you, and we're gearing up for our second EP to come out in the spring. So really, really excited to see what happens with that group.
dude, congrats. Your plate is full. For everybody that doesn't know, by the way, are you what's your handle? Is your handle the same across everything? Are you
Um,
pastel on everything?
no, my Twitter is a pastel ETH. It was really just my crypto Twitter, but it just turned into like my main social media, and then everything. Well, my Instagram is 1980 wavy, um, and then Lens, I'm Leo Pastel on Lens. I probably should have some type of like synchronicity, but they're all different.
Sometimes it's hard to snag them all too. So especially when you start talking about Instagram and stuff like that. So um look, tap in with Leo, please, guys. If you have not heard the song, it's a whole vibe. Go to sound.xyz, type in Leo Pastel, Leo Pastel. Check it out. If you can cop one, cop one. If not, at least hit the retweet button. That does help out. Um, and be on the lookout. Guys out here doing everything. You're gonna be all over the place, but a much deserved break, at least from being front and center for at least a little bit on here coming up. So, dude, congrats on all your successes, and it sounds like there's like a million more things to come. So at some point, maybe I'll be able to point back to this. I'll be like, yo, I talked to him. So uh, I deeply, deeply appreciate you spending the time and hopping on with me. Um, and I want to leave the floor to you to say whatever you would like to part us with.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. Um, I guess I'll say to the Web3 space as a whole, give music NFTs a chance. Um, I think a lot of people don't recognize that musicians are artists just as much as painters are artists, just as much as digital designers are artists. Our art is just as valuable. Yeah, so just allow that space. Allow that space in your mind, even if you don't fully understand it. Just try and come in with an open mind and see what's going on over here.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you again, man. Thank you to anybody that tunes in now or after the fact. If you have any questions for Leo and what he does, hit him up. I'm sure he'll be responsive. If not, you can hit me and I'll get you in touch. Thank you again. Good luck on the rest of the drop. Peace.